it just could have gone differently. Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and as you can see by the title, I'm going to be talking again about the Air Force. My next two videos, I believe, are going to be about my MEPs experience and just kind of related to MEPs, which I talked a little bit about in my very first video. I say my very first video, but my first video where I'm talking about the Air Force, like my last video. So the first thing that happened is I woke up on September 5th and my recruiter had told me to be there at 11. So I did a lot of research on MEPs and taking the ASVAB and everything before I went, because it's something that I had absolutely no idea about. I didn't even know what MEPs was or what the ASVAB was until I started researching it, obviously. But I don't have any, like, aside from my cousin, which I don't talk to very much, I don't have any like family members that are in the military at all. So he told me to meet there at 11, and we ended up just sitting there and talking until about 12. I was like, why did I get here so early? Because I actually got there before 11 too, probably like 15 minutes early, because everybody said get there really early. You don't want to be late before MEPs day, which could be true for some people. I know everybody has different experiences, but for me, I was just like there super early and stayed there for a long time and really did nothing. It was my recruiter and then this other guy, which he looked about my age. I found out later he was like around 21. He ended up being the one that drove me to MEPs. So while I was in my recruiter's office, he called and was like, hey, it's not canceled anymore, so like we're going, like pack your stuff, we're gonna come pick you up, because she didn't have a ride. So like this whole thing was just like weird, and I felt like kind of unorganized, but I mean it wasn't like stressful in any way. I was just like, this is weird. We ended up going to pick her up, and she was kind of along the way, like we had to get off the interstate obviously and like go to her house, but it was towards that way anyways. So we went and picked her up, and she was going into the Air Force as well. And she was kind of just like my friend throughout the whole day. I hope she doesn't like find my YouTube, which like how would she, but she said her name like 2 or 3 times and I never got it. Like I kept forgetting her name because it was something that was like more unique. So I just, still don't know her name to this day, but I don't know. So we drove down to Indy, and it was probably about an hour and a half drive. It was kind of long. Maybe not an hour and a half, but probably like an hour. And I didn't know these people. I was making conversation with the guy that was driving us, because I was like, how did you get stuck with this job to drive people to MEPs? And he said, no, I'm actually like here visiting my mom, and I'm from Indiana, like I know the area and everything. This is just like a special job. I actually do, like, I think he said construction or something like that. Once she got in the car, I kind of like stopped talking. I mean, I talked to her a little bit, but then it was just awkward. I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but you can either drive there or have somebody drive you there. And then that like basically plans out your transportation for the whole entire thing, obviously. He drove us to MEPs, but again, you do have the option to drive if you want. And it's this huge building. I don't think that that's for everywhere. The guy that drove us said that it's like the one that we went to is like the second biggest, I think, in the country. I think he said country, not state, because where would the other one be in the state? So you walk in, and like the part where you walk in at is the only part you'll see, at least for the Indy MEPs experience. Like it's this huge building, but I only saw that one part of it the whole entire time while I was there. So when you first walk in, it's this like little cube of just like windows and stuff, if that makes any sense. And you can, there's these 2 doors that say exit, and on the other side of those doors is like a huge receptionist area. Like, is that right? Receptionist area? And then to your left, which is the only option you have of doors you can go through basically, other than the exit ones, which obviously you can't go through because it says exit. So you have to go through security, like a security check, and they were mean. They weren't like yelling or anything, but they were just kind of rude. And I don't think that they were military at all. I think that they were just like regular security cops, but they probably just have to deal with a lot, which is why they were rude. But the guy that dropped us off had his combat boots on, and when he went through, the guy was like, "What are you doing? Like, obviously your boots have metal in them or something," which I would have known that. And he was like, "Take your boots off, try again." And I was like, so me and the other girl ended up going through the next door, and he was like going back through after he took his boots off and stuff. So it was taking him a little bit because he had to like lace them back up and everything. So we went through and threw our bags in these little cubbies. It's just a room full of cubbies, which is kind of stressful because you keep your phone in there and everything, but they have like a little camera up there. So like if your stuff does get stolen, like they can obviously go back and look at the footage. And I believe we went to the liaison's office first and got our paperwork, which I did not talk to my liaison at all, I don't think. I don't know if you're assigned a liaison specifically, because I ended up not going through the entire process, which you'll see about later. But there were just like 3 Air Force guys in there. So your liaison, or at least the one in Indy, the liaison's office is, so there's the reception area that you initially walk into, and then down the hall is another like waiting area where there's like the Air Force, and then Navy was right next to it, National Guard, Army, and then Marines. Which the second day I was there, I saw some Marines like dressed up in their like nice outfits. I don't know what they're called. But that was so cool, and I was like, this is cool. I think I don't remember, and this was like not that long ago whatsoever, like it was just a few days ago, but I think we took our paperwork up front. Oh no, we had a paper that the recruiter printed out for us, and we had to bring that up front, and I gave it to this Marine girl that was running it at the time, and she wasn't rude, but she was a little aggressive. She was one of the most aggressive people, but still didn't yell or anything. She was just kind of like. So I gave it to her, and then you get this little name tag that says like U.S. Air Force, kaitlnjohnsn, and then it said like what you were doing that day. So I was taking the ASVAB that day, so it just said ASVAB. And then she's like, go wait in line and take this notebook. So you wait in line and you have a notebook, and it's just like going over the rules and stuff, which it's not anything crazy. And then you're waiting in line because everybody's getting their picture taken. So you'll get up there and you'll get your picture taken, which I didn't know if I was allowed to smile or anything, so I was just like, because I was not about to smile and have her yell at me, but she yelled at me anyways, because I can't, not yell, like she wasn't yelling at me, but she was just like,
quit moving your eyes.
Because I don't know, I was just anxious, so when the flash went off, I would like look around. I don't know, I don't know what I was doing, I was just nervous. And then she was just like,
okay, go down the hallway, turn left at the arrow, good luck.
Like, okay, thanks. So you go into this room. It's like pretty much like a classroom, but not like rows. It's like a computer classroom. I mean, at least from how my high school was. It's just like computers up against the walls, and then like a few in the middle. And you talk to this guy or girl, and they'll just like be like, hey, like whisper to you, because other people are already taking the test, which is kind of weird to me too, like that everybody doesn't do it at the same time. It's just like all over the place, because at the end of the night everybody has to leave together. So that was kind of weird to me. He just like sat me down, I took my test, and then afterwards there were 2 more tests that I had not heard anything about until I was there. Because I finished the ASVAB and I like started to get up and go like tell him, and he saw that I like wasn't completely finished because there was still stuff on my screen, but I was like, am I restarting and like doing another test? And I didn't really know what to do. So he was like,
oh, you still have like 2 more tests.
I was like, what? Like, I hadn't heard anything about this. So let me look up what those tests were called. It's called TAPAS. I don't know if like people actually say it like that, but it's TAPAS. And that's the personality test, which was 120 questions. And I have never heard anybody say anything about this, or maybe I have and I just like blocked it out of my mind. But I was like so shocked that that was a thing, and it wasn't difficult at all, but it was like 2 answers for each question, so, and you had to pick one of them that was most like you. And a lot of the time, well, not a lot of the times, but sometimes it didn't fit me at all, and I just like clicked one because I was like, neither of these are anywhere, like I wouldn't do either of these things. After that was the cyber test, which is basically like an IT test. At least that's how I felt about it. I didn't know any of it either, and I was not expecting it at all. But I did know how to paste on a keyboard, which just because I have a Mac, so I kind of do that a lot when I edit videos, so that was cool. But after that, the test was done, and my recruiter gave me a little envelope that I turned in when I first started the ASVAB. So the guy in the classroom that helps you get onto the computer and stuff, like you hand him that, and I believe your ID, and know your social security number going into this, because they're gonna ask you a lot of times if it's your social security number, and I didn't know mine until after I finished MEPs. They asked me so many times, I was just like, yes, like that's my social security number, because I just like, I need to memorize it, and like I honestly didn't even need to memorize it by the end of the day because they asked me so many times, and like I was just so used to seeing the number, so I just kind of memorized it. But it's probably something that you should just know beforehand. I mean, you should just know it anyways, but and probably most of you do, but. So after the ASVAB, I went back into the waiting room, and there were only 2 other guys there, which was kind of crazy to me because I'm really slow at taking tests. The Marine girl was like, okay, the bus is here, like, go. And she basically just like told us like a little bit of a briefing before we left. So one of the things that you really need to know is, but this is more so for MEPs and not the ASVAB, wear granny panties if you're a girl, and if you're a guy, I guess wear boxers. I'm not quite sure. But I just remember her really stressing that like girls need to be wearing granny panties and no thongs because
you will get kicked out.
Because you do the dock walk and everything, and they're not wanting to see that. So you will get in trouble if you don't have granny panties. I ended up wearing, I don't know if this is a bit too much information, so if you're my grandma or something, you're watching this and you don't want to know, just skip past this. But I ended up wearing like boy shorts, and that was fine. So she just kind of went over like the rules. She was like, don't drink because you have to take a breathalyzer in the morning and stuff like that. Thanks for watching once again, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.